What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's interview of our dream firm leader. And what I want to do is I would like to introduce to you the enrolled agent that Wesley Snipes should have called, a man whose acting talents put William Shatner to shame, the man so brave he acquired a firm during tax season. A little crazy to me, but very brave. A shining example of the power of systems by nearly exceeding his ambitious annual revenue goals in the first quarter of the year. Let me waste no more time welcoming to the stage the insanely talented, graciously humble, the man of many faces, the dream firm leader of Keith Stoller and Tax Business Solutions, Keith Stoller, ladies and gentlemen. Keith, how are you doing today?
Very good, Tyler.
Fantastic, fantastic. So why don't we go ahead and jump right on in. Keith, I want you to do me a favor and just paint that picture of your background in accounting, what got you started in it, and if you want to talk a little bit about your acting talents as well, please feel free to do so.
Okay. Well, I don't know what use the acting talents will be here, but we'll get into that, I guess, maybe. So I started basically wanting to help my parents one day back in the 80s. It was the year after they started requiring Social Security numbers. It was funny because in that one year, about 7 million dependents dropped off the rolls between those 2 years. So yeah, what a difference it makes. But it turned out this was back in the day when it was all paper, and I went down to the post office and grabbed all the manuals and stuff like that, and I wanted to help. I just wanted to help out the family a little bit, and I was curious, what it was about. And so I actually started just with my parents, and then I did a pretty good job, because then other families started coming over and say, "Hey, you want to do my taxes?" Because pretty much everybody hates it, especially when you're doing it on paper. It's, you didn't have the TurboTax or anything like that. So yeah, I started small fry and organic, didn't have a license or anything. I don't even think they required a license back when I started. Well, whatever. Yeah, California formed something later. But it's funny because I went down several different paths in my life, but I always was doing taxes during tax season, and things just kind of grew organically, but it was always just a seasonal thing. And then after a couple of market resets, when you had the tech crash back around 2000, and then you had that just kind of cemented it in my mind that no matter what, even when good times or bad times, that the financial side, the taxes, that was always there, because when times were good, people needed help. When times were bad, people needed help even more. So, that's when I decided to commit myself full time to it. And then from there, I was in a position to purchase a very small firm at the time. I think I paid $80,000. So, so it wasn't exactly huge. But about a year and a half after that, I was able to acquire another on a very good terms. And then after that, it was just organic growth. I was word of mouth. People seemed to be generally happy. So fast forward, I had gotten a little bit tired of having a fully staffed firm. I was tired of dealing with all the HR issues with all the staff and all that. I was kind of burnt out, and so I took a step back. I let that go, and started up from scratch with my own, just me, and hang out a shingle. Here we go. That was back about 2013, and now. It just been pretty much me. I was a one-man show the entire time up until the very end of December. And then I ended up getting an opportunity to take over another firm. A gentleman who's a CPA, he's 75, and he and his staff are working under my banner right now. So that's good. But in the meantime, I don't think I probably would have been ready for it if I didn't learn what I learned as far as the systems and such that Dream Firms has been providing and teaching. because now I have a method to systematize, whereas in my previous firm, and again, a lot of the tools that we have now weren't there, back in 2013, or they were just in their infancy. So it was very nice to have kind of a roadmap. And that's really been a good platform for conversation for the new staff. Um, because the acquisition happened right at the end of last year. There really wasn't any time to integrate everybody, but now we've talked about a few things and we're looking to go forward into the remainder of the year. Very, very good.
That's fantastic. And thank you for such a broad, sweeping overview, from starting with just doing your family's taxes to then a couple of families' taxes that were surrounding your neighborhood, and word got out, this guy does a great job. And we're talking, back in the day a little bit, paper returns, didn't really have the technology, able to progress forward. Now we get into a small acquisition, a little bit of a larger acquisition, and then we have what a lot of people experience, which is burnout, where a lot of things are falling onto your shoulders and getting frustrated with the amount of work that ultimately is required from the owner themselves. It's hard to extract yourself from that. And pretty much just said, I'm gonna just walk away from this, collect myself, do some other things, got back into it, came back to it, even though market goes up, market goes down, taxes are forever. It's always been a good bread and butter source for you. But now we're getting a bit more into not repeating the mistakes of the past and being able to make sure that when we think about this rich history that you have and all this breadth of experience, we're now being able to, yes, use the acquisition experience you have, but also reflect on what are the things that can and should be different with the new pieces of technology that are out there in the market that we can be leveraging to make sure that your team isn't stressed, that you're now getting ready to bring on board from this acquisition, and that you're not stressed in the process of managing them and ultimately taking things off their plate that should be on their plate to begin with. So I love this for setting the stage, but I want to talk a little bit about the services that you have historically delivered that maybe you're getting more into the process of delivering now and offering to your clients, because I know that this has been a little bit of a transition for you, being able to start to do some things a little bit differently from what you offer. So just give us that high level overview of the services that Keith typically is delivering and offering to his clients.
Okay. Up till I made the acquisition recently, I was focusing primarily on tax returns. I had also had tax problem resolution clients, and I started to focus on that a little bit more. But I also, realized that there was a lot of business I wasn't getting because I wasn't offering a broader range of services. It was just pretty much in there in tax planning. So there's a tendency that people only want to see you once a year for the most part. And you tend to get into businesses or people who have smaller businesses, and they see the wisdom of seeing you a couple of times a year, maybe, but not the type of clients in most cases that want to have an ongoing month-to-month relationship with you. Because really, taxes, you set it and forget it, and that's in many cases. And it's a missed opportunity, but also because the people that were wanting that month-to-month engagement with me, I wasn't able to provide it because generally it focuses on the bookkeeping and the payroll, which I was not providing at the time. And I know a lot of people are outsourcing payroll right now, which is fine. But again, even going through my company, that was stifling my growth, and I was looking at volume rather than good, strong relationships, where fewer clients, but a lot more in-depth and a lot more regular communication. And now I'm able to offer that.
Absolutely fantastic. So again, we went from essentially a tax shop with a variety of tax services, IRS tax resolution, a little bit of tax planning, it seemed like, and of course your year-end tax return style of work, compliance in general. And now we've been able to expand our service offering into a more comprehensive approach with, I believe, a little bit of the acquisition, but also a little bit of the shift in mentality and being able to make sure that we understand that people want this. And if we're not offering it, I can guarantee they're going to go and buy it from somewhere else. And this is a recognition that we want to take as much of that buying pie in this service sector as we possibly can, because why wouldn't we? And we have to think about maybe how we do that in a little bit of a different way so that not all of it falls on your shoulders, right? I don't want anyone, any of my clients, to be a jack of all trades, master of none. And what I really want to focus on mastery of is making sure that we elevate you to director level and try and get you out of the minutia as quickly and as effectively as possible. And I know that's been a lot of what our conversations have circled around, but I want to go before our work together, Keith. And I want us to imagine that place in time where you had an experience what we had to offer. And I want you to go through some of the struggles and hurdles that you were experiencing prior to working with Dream Firms with us.
Okay. I had started to get into resolution and whatnot back in 2016 or thereabouts. And around that time, just before that time, I had a mindset to continually invest in myself, because really this is the best computer you got. So I've been focusing on that over the few years prior to us meeting, and I gained a lot of information about a lot of different ways to do things. But one thing that wasn't really getting was I wasn't really getting systems as far as background programs and apps to support you. There was just no roadmap. And so try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that, but then to make them work, it just, it was very disparate. It was spread out. And I was just frustrated. And in reality, I gained enough information to know that I needed something that tied it all together, or at least most of it. And then we happened to run into each other.
No, it's perfect. And it's not unlike what I hear from a lot of people, which is we get a lot of little bits, maybe a really good strategy, maybe an interesting tip, maybe some good mindset stuff. And then what's really going to bring all of the investments that we've made thus far and really make them all worthwhile. And that's to just say, look, there isn't anything magical or complicated about what Keith has been able to go through, or ultimately what we help all of our clients with. It's very simple at the end of the day, of being able to just understand where we are, the things that we have that are working well, being able to maximize them, and just look at what isn't and why, and how can we ultimately improve upon those. So let's talk about some of the programs that you had invested in to grow your firm. Had you invested in anything else previously to help you with that? And overall, what were your experiences like with those potential investments?
I probably popped into one or more things because California went 420 legal. I looked at CFO. I looked at all kinds of things because, again, I didn't know what I didn't know. I took a course in cryptocurrency taxation. So that's been actually a little bit more useful. But in my area, there's just not a lot of people that are dealing with it, except this year, because of the Robinhood thing. That everybody and their uncle has, has a Robinhood account. And, oh, I got to report that. Oh,
yeah. Well, you don't have to report it, but I mean, yes, you have to.
I don't have to stop at the stoplight either, but it generally is a good idea, especially in a busy town. So anyway, but again, looking at all those things, it was still okay. I was in my own mind, looking back, I was trying to find ways to niche a little bit. I didn't really understand it at that time, but to find something that I could leverage. But it really wasn't working, or I got the information, but it wasn't for me. It's just trial and error in many ways.
Yeah, and I appreciate the insights into that, Keith, because first of all, I love the willingness to try things. And one of the things that can be frustrating about trying something that's really specific, like crypto,
Mhm.
or I think you maybe mentioned the cannabis industry and something that you were potentially exploring as well, being in the state of California, is that a lot of the programs that are so hyper niche specific like that, they try and force you into these boxes. And if you come to realize that the techniques that don't really get people in the front door don't really work as well as being able to maybe focus heavily on the fulfillment side, you're sort of like, great, I have all this industry knowledge now, but I don't really have anyone that's knocking on my door asking me for my expertise. And I don't really have a way to demonstrate and show this expertise that I've invested a lot in. And then we sort of go, well, there were some useful things here and I might be able to do something with it. But in reality, it ends up getting set off to the side a little bit. And then we start getting more into, well, who is it that I really want to work with? And is it crypto? Is it marijuana? Maybe yes, maybe no. But ultimately, again, those are good skills that we've been able to acquire. But the question is it the niche that we want to focus on at the end of the day? So I want to transition now to why you started to work with us, because a lot of people talk about systems. A lot of people say, hey, I can help you pick up clients, Keith. What was it that you felt really separated us? And I'd also say, how did we get introduced? Because I think that that's an important thing to wrap into this conversation of ultimately, why did you start with us, Keith?
Actually, that's a great question. One of your members of Dream Firms, Mr. McNeely. I was dealing with him on just referral relationships at the time, and we talked about a lot of things, getting to know each other. And he mentioned you, and so I went on the the 7-day challenge and hopped on that, and it's like, okay. Well, I mean, maybe it took me a little longer than 7 days, but I saw the value. You see, I mean okay, there's a map, and yes, you even had a little road map. It was like the game of life, just spin the wheel and so, but anyway, enough of that. But just to say this, that uh, it made sense. Finally, something made sense, and of course that's in my mind structure, and so I wanted more, and which was very funny because it's when you come in and you say, okay, well, to continue in the 2-month program, it's going to be X dollars. Well, it's like I didn't. I mean, normally it would be like, okay, do I really want to spend money? But this, like, I just pull out the card and here we go. Uh, and within about 2 weeks after working with you, and maybe it's the universe, I don't know, but unexpectedly, the money came in through my business to actually cover that cost. And then when I went to the annual, the 1-year program, funny thing, I got my first green, one of my first green clients, as we term it here, and guess what? It was just enough to pay the bill. And since then, I've had a few more, so I don't really worry about it anymore. And I feel like even though my systems, I've learned that that's always a continual improvement, but it never ends because technology never stops changing and morphing. But I feel like I can do it. I've gone from trying to poke around and find things that work to I've got something that actually will feed my business good, happy, well-paying clients. So then it's on me to deliver.
I love it. And I want to emphasize two things from what you said there, Keith, that I think everyone really needs to internalize here. The first of which is that it's about progress. It's not about perfection. Your systems will continue to improve, and that is the nature of life. Change is the only constant. Any of my philosophy fans out there, change is the only constant. Sounds a little weird, but the more we're willing to embrace that change, the more successful we're going to be and adapt and improvise to ultimately what our dream clients want. And the second thing that I want to pull from that is it's normal to feel discomfort when you're getting ready to make an investment. But if you're looking to earn larger investments yourself, if you are unwilling to make the size of the investment that you're asking for, it's extremely hard to get that type of investment yourself. And I don't think it's coincidental, although I do believe in the magical powers of the universe. I don't think it's coincidental that you made an investment of that size, and within 2 weeks, all of a sudden, it came back to you because we started to do things differently. We started to think about things differently. We started to act differently. And as an actor yourself, I think you understand how important it is to be able to swap into that persona and make sure that it is reflective of what that dream client is ultimately searching for. So I'd like to just do a little sidebar conversation here with you, Keith, because I know, similar to yourself, dream client was really ambiguous before you started to work with us. I think some people go, is it niche? Is it multiple niches? Is it just really rich people? And then all of a sudden we had some clarity around who is your dream client. And I want to take a little bit of time to dive deeper into that topic with you, because I know it's extremely beneficial, whether you work with us or not, to be able to have that clarity. How did you get that clarity? Tell us a little bit about your niche, and tell us maybe a little bit about what you've been able to do to start to make some inroads into your niche.
Okay. Well, at first, I kind of bounced around on what niche do I want, because it's like, okay, this makes sense with attorneys. This makes sense over here with a few other like real estate agents. It's pretty big. Bakersfield's been a pretty big investment market over the years, and I have a fair contingent of each type of professional. But when we were talking, I was also, what about entertainment? Because I have a background in that. And the interesting part, I'm in the union. I've got, I don't really do much anymore. Occasional voiceover or something like that. But and I'm like D-list. I don't even know if I show up on the list really. But I didn't get involved in entertainment just to be Mr. Big. I actually enjoyed what I was doing, and I wasn't trying to be anything, and just to participate and have some fun. And if I can make a few bucks on the side, great. Everybody needs a hobby, right? But the experience and the exposure in that industry has actually set me up in a way that I understand it better than most, because I've been in it. And it's not something you can say if you're an accountant and you focus on real estate agents. I'm not a real estate agent necessarily. I mean, you learn a lot about it. I'm not trying to, poke fun at anybody, but to actually having had your hands in it fairly deep, it's just the fact that I get it, and I actually know fair number of people that are on the backside of the industry, and I'm familiar with the people in the union and things like that. So why not leverage a few things? Because as a member of the union, they have elections periodically, and I have a very good background in, of course, accounting, among other things, human resources. I actually worked inside of a labor union as an HR director at one point to help them get their human resources function started up. So it was a very, very unusual, but it showed me the inner workings of the union too. So I actually can bring value if I say ran for an office in the regional union. Then that gives me exposure in a very interesting way, especially since they've been having problems getting when they merged the Screen Actors Guild and American Federation of Radio and Television Artists merged some years ago. They've had nothing but problems with reconciling their pension plans and things like that. Well, I can add value to the discussion, if nothing else. Maybe I can't solve the problem. It's a big one, but can have a lot more intelligent discussions. And it's like, hey, you really know a lot about this. It's, oh yeah, I'm an accountant. And I specialize in the entertainment industry. Now, when I say entertainment industry also, it's not to say necessarily actors. Because in the acting, maybe about 10% of the people working in my region are regular working actors, and most of those are, they're middle class. They make their money, they feed their family just like everybody else. It's just they do something that most of us think is really neat, and there's a lot of cultural cachet with being in the entertainment industry. But my focus is more on hospitality, and also the back end, who's on the other side of the camera, because those are the people that are really working all the time in the industry. And again, it's hard work, but they also have their unions and such. So it's a lot more stable as far as in my niche. So when again, a lot of people have the tendency to think actors, when you talk about entertainment. That's not necessarily it, although I have a few actors and entertainers that I deal with. The best part though is that I'm also reaching out. I've got I thought about it in a broad sense. My best acquisition so far has actually been a driving range, and it is entertainment, believe it or not, more like hospitality type, but it branches over into that because it's a top tracer range, if anybody knows what that is. Where you can actually interact with a panel. It has this electric eye that will see where your ball goes, and you can actually play literally video games on the thing. There's also competitions with all the other top tracer ranges, so there's always that competitive aspect. But so keeping a broader view on what I consider entertainment, I think, is very helpful.
I love the response, and the response has so much depth to it because it's literally your experience. It's the things that you found yourself being involved with without being like, well, this is a good business opportunity. It's like, no, this is things that I naturally enjoy and things that I find myself gravitating towards. And by extension, I have all of this expertise, whether it's through labor unions, whether it's participating in the guild, whether it's picking up side gigs, whether it's helping that particular individual with their taxes. And that's what I really love about when we start talking about dream client identification. We like to just zoom way out. I say, no, don't just stare at lawyers unless you've really enjoyed going to law school, or you find yourself being constantly surrounded by lawyers. Like, let's think about this for a little bit and not just go and chase what seems like a really good niche that you have no tangible connection to, because then it's really hard to build that connectivity and build that network because you're really starting from zero. Whereas in this, you're starting all the way up here. And if someone now comes in and try and says, well, I'm going to do entertainment, but they have no connection to the entertainment industry, you've got a nice piece of insulation. And I know there's so much business out there that it doesn't really matter. We can have multiple people inside of multiple niches without any competition problems at all. But also the scope in which we're thinking about your industry is not just actors. It's all the things that support entertainment. And I just absolutely love that. And I want to share one quick story from Keith that really makes me smile every time I think about it. So we came onto a hot seat. And as everyone knows, if you know anything about us, is we love driving reviews and helping to generate reviews for our clients. And we love to get them for ourselves, of course, because it's how we build trust online, right? Keith says we do a fantastic job. The odds that you believe that we do a fantastic job are higher. And the same thing is true for Keith. So Keith came onto a call with me and he was buzzing. He was like, he's really reserved right now, but he can get pretty excited. He was like, I got a review from one of my dream clients. And I was like, well, that's absolutely fantastic. Congratulations. But I didn't really understand why he was so excited. And then I read the review. And oh my Lord, I'm like almost tearing up. This was such a powerful moment to be able to see how much he had helped someone. And I say that because this is such an important moment that you deserve to have as well, where you get to see how much someone appreciates how much you've done for them. And then everyone else gets to see that as well. And it's incredibly powerful to have that experience in that moment. So check out Keith's Google My Business page if you want to read it. I think it's one of the longer ones on there. But if there's anyone that's going to write a really good review, it's someone in the entertainment, and they really spice it up a little bit. So it was absolutely fantastic to read. So let's get moving forward a little bit here. We talked about how you had a really ambitious growth goal. and you would come onto a call relatively recently within the last couple of weeks, and you said, well, I don't know if I was not ambitious enough because I'm essentially 85% of the way to my growth goal. And we basically had just finished up Q1. So I want to talk a little bit about how your decision to work with dream firms has changed your life, and potentially in the context of that major milestone that you were able to accomplish.
Yeah, I was blown away. I, and again, I didn't. I mean, just to put it in context, I mentioned there was a merger before, so I'm not counting the merger. I operate over here in my little silo. The merger, the other location is down the road a little ways, and so they have their books. I have my books right now, and so this is just me operating in my own little silo for the most part, but being able to offer more services. Um, and I would say that with the dream clients that I brought on, I call them VIP clients in my practice, but it's still the same thing. To have that regular monthly revenue, and to be able to count on that and not have to, I mean, you always have to earn it. You have to provide on a regular basis, but I don't necessarily have to re-earn the business. You have to maintain the relationship, but you don't necessarily need to re-earn the business. And that stability that I haven't had up until recently, for quite some time, is really awesome. And also the fact that I've been a lot more confident asking for more, because of course I'm worth it, but you don't always feel worth it. It's like, oh no, 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 I can't stick him for that. No. But 24 hours in a day, just like anybody else. I mean, what is your time worth? And are you meeting your goals with what you're bringing in? Is the way your business is. I mean, if your business was going the way you wanted, you wouldn't be here, right? So, I would say that has a portion of that, and then also just, again, feeling confident enough to seek out better business. That's a term I use. That it's not that I have bad clients. I don't consider any of my clients to be bad. There are some that push the envelope sometimes, but it's just that. Instead of looking for just anybody that's coming in the door, narrowing that scope and being able to say something, hey, can you do my taxes? It's like, I'm sorry, I'm full up, and just and focus on making what you have better. And then when you have somebody that calls up and say, can you help me out? Then you can be a lot more selective, but you can also bring a lot better relationship to the table with that potential client too. And you can offer that one person much more, instead of offering a whole bunch of people just one little narrow scope of services.
So many awesome things to pull out of this. And the one thing that really stuck in my brain there is, did you hear the way he referred to his top clients? VIP clients. In the entertainment industry, your VIP is pretty important. So that makes them feel special. And I want to emphasize that, because it's a really cool piece of language. And a lot of people talk about value, and Keith mentioned it a couple of times on today's interview. And value, of course, is very important, but a lot of people have a hard time defining it or increasing perceived value. The language we choose to use has a lot to do with perceived value. The way we demonstrate and make sure our expertise is showcased has a lot to do with increasing perceived value. But what goes on between the ears also has a lot to do with it. He mentioned confidence in being able to ask for more, and also the conscious reflection that there's only so many hours in the day. And if you're not reaching what you believe that you should in terms of growth goals, and he said there's 24 hours in a day, but there's only really 8 working hours, because you got some other things you have to take care of in those 24 hours. And so when you really just kind of break it down like that, you have to understand that selection is important. Elevation of your clients is important. Emphasis on the clients that recognize your value and are willing to invest is important. So I love it overall, Keith. Just a fantastic answer there. Let's talk a little bit about the working with us, and specifically, what it was like getting started with Dream Firms. I know we talked about the Igniter Challenge already, and I love that. But why don't we just make sure we stay focused on the Create Your Dream Firm program and specifically what that process was like?
Okay. Focusing on that a little bit more. For me, it was, and again, it's a learning experience. A lot of what I've been exposed to is new, as far as the tools, techniques, and such. But and sometimes things don't necessarily make sense at first blush, and so having the support and the group around me and seeing people a little ways down, a little further down the road, maybe they've been in the program a few months longer or something, and it's like, oh, I've been hammering away at this and it's been miserable and it's been hard, but I finally beat it. I've overcome it. I'm able to get on Facebook and do a Facebook Live and overcome all my fear. To see other people that are doing it, and then it makes me feel like I can do it too. And it also allows me the benefit of their learning from their roadblocks and their headaches and their mistakes. So and I'd say the hardest thing is finding, just, I wouldn't even say finding time. It's making the time to discipline myself to make the time, because there's always I got to work on this. I got to work on that. And the value of protecting a certain amount of time just to deal with the tools and the techniques and the mindsets that Dream Firms offers has been a real help. I don't think I would have been able to I wouldn't have gotten nearly as far at all.
I appreciate you sharing that, because you are correct. And it is about making time. And I like to say we really can't make time, but we have to reallocate time in a different way to get different results. But having that community aspect and seeing the progress, seeing the results that other people are experiencing, and being able to say, why not me? What is it that I need to start to do just a little bit differently in terms of how investing that resource of time to be able to get what that person's experience, who's just around the corner from where I am, because they have access to the same resources, the same accessibility to Tyler and the team that I have. And it's like, well, every week you get that nice reminder of, wait a minute, I should be able to do that too. And then sure enough, 2-3 weeks later, you're the one now sharing, this is what I've accomplished. This is what I've gained. This is what I've been able to do. So I love it, Keith. Absolutely.
You run into somebody who says, "Oh, I got client's $50,000 a year," and I'm like, at first it just seemed like, no, it's like, those people are out there. Well, not in my town, no, but they're out there. And I mean, maybe I didn't get a $50,000 client, but I got a $25,000 a year client. So if that ain't bad, how many of those do I need? Not too many.
Exactly. It's a huge mindset shift. And again, I see someone else who's doing it, and it sounds unbelievable, but that's the nature of the way the world works. I love the example of, I think it's the 4-minute mile, where it's like, it was impossible. Nobody could, and then one person did it, and then all these other people started doing it. And it's like, wait a minute, I can pick up a $25,000 or a $50,000 a year client, or even above that. I have a client that's getting ready to make like a multi 6-figure contract on a tax plan. And it's humbling to hear and even think that that's possible, but those people exist. And the question is how can we make sure that when they see you, the perceived value, when they see you online, it's as high as we can get it, and increases the likelihood that they believe you on your promise. So 100%, Keith. We've got a little less than 20 minutes. So if you guys have questions, I can see them starting to pile in. If you want to drop them in here, we've got about 10 minutes, and then we're going to get to open Q&A. So I'm going to move a little quicker through these particular questions. What do you enjoy most about working with us, Keith?
What do I enjoy most? Again, it's the support. It's the positive attitude that people bring, and also seeing other people's successes. It does. I mean, again, for the most part, working 7-8 years predominantly on my own, you're in a silo, and you don't necessarily always get that feedback and you get that perspective absent participating in some group like this. And I think the focus on this group is exactly what I need to make my business better.
Innovation cannot happen in a bubble. And if you find yourself struggling to make progress, it's not because you're not working hard. It's not because you're not smart. It's because you need other people to open up conversations with you about topics that you could not possibly think about or imagine on your own when you're alone and you're in that silo. I completely agree, Keith. I find it fascinating that every single answer to that question is about support, because you need support to grow. You can't do it on your own. And happy to know that we're able to fill that for you in some capacity. If you are willing to share, because we've been talking about ambitious revenue goals and being able to nearly exceed them in a quarter, and fascinating that, again, that is independent of an acquisition, because I think some people are like, well, this guy just, he just bought a firm. Obviously, he reached his growth goals. It's like, no. These two things can be complementary and they are separate. So with respects to just what you've been able to do since you've joined the program, how much have you added to your firm and in what time frame?
And again, absent the acquisition, I added about 50% to my bottom line. So that's not bad. So I'm not quite to that $100,000 goal perhaps, but I'm pretty darn close. So and it's within reach. It's like 2 clients away, really.
So if we had to quantify 50%, Keith, we'd be saying,
well, I started out at about 120, 125 grand a year. And that was fine for me. I mean, I live modestly. I'm on my own, but other people want more. And other people, it's just everybody comes in from their own standpoint and their own background. I mean, I had a firm that was turning about 500 grand a year, before I decided to walk away from that. But the peace of mind, the absence of the overhead, I mean, it was reassuring. I think it's what I needed spiritually at the time, if nothing else. But just the fact that even as one person, that going from 120 up to about 170, and now probably passing the 200,000 mark, probably well before the end of the year, is just my 2 year ago self would say is absolutely insane. I wouldn't have believed it, but but not too bad for being on my own.
And we're just getting started. I mean, we're 6-7 months into our relationship, maybe 8 months at this point here, Keith, give or take a little bit there. And essentially we've been able to add about $10,000 per month in new revenue. It sounds like for each month you've been with us.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Not so bad. And again, I want to pull from that. Your old self 2 years ago would not believe where you are today. I feel the same way. Like if you were like, well, this is Tyler 2 years ago, most people will be like, I don't even recognize that person. I wouldn't even recognize that person. And it's not just about the money. It's about the mindset. It's about the way we're running our business. It's about the confidence we have moving forward about the future and knowing, well, of course I'm going to be able to add another $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 by the end. Like you'd almost be in disbelief that wouldn't happen. Whereas the old self would be like, the idea that I could do that would require, maybe a big stroke of luck or something. It's like, there's no luck involved. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, just the idea that I could have a $10,000 or $25,000 a year client is, that wasn't even on the roadmap back then.
Precisely. Fantastic. What would you say to someone considering our services right now?
Do it. Really, the fear about making the commitment. I mean, whether it's the Little Igniter Challenge, I mean, that's a no-brainer right there. But just the fact that it's worth it just to make the commitment to go with a 2-month program. Trust me, if you just do the work, it will pay dividends. It will not only return on your investment immediately within a very short amount of time, but it will also produce dividends. It's as simple as that. I don't have one regret from picking up that credit card.
Perfectly stated. Thank you, Keith. Why do you consider this one of the best investments you've made in your business?
Because it has returned. You can make investments. I mean, in a lot of the other things, I've invested in knowledge, which is good and always encouraged. But I've invested in ways to do things a little bit differently, but not all of them resonated. And I mean, even biblically, you judge a tree by its fruit, and if the tree doesn't produce any fruit, then or not much, then it's no good. So I planted the seed, the tree grew, and there's fruit. It's really not that hard to explain. I mean, that's the benefits have been there, and I don't have any regrets.
Thank you for saying it. And I'll summarize it as this, because you mentioned knowledge, and knowledge is important in many respects, but there's a huge gap between knowledge and wisdom. And the emphasis we have on the program is, yes, we teach you things, of course. We have to learn new things. But the gap between learning things and implementing them is the gap between knowledge and wisdom. And that, to me, is what it's all about. If you're going to get a return on investment, well, it's one thing to invest the time to learn something. It's another thing to then say, the time I invested in learning in this, I'm going to double down on the time I invested just to learn it, to implement it. And by extension, we go from knowledge to wisdom, or the wise Keith Stoller, as you will come to be known in your epitaph one day. So go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Awesome. What has surprised you the most when it came to growing your practice?
That I could actually do it in such steps. There's always the incremental growth, but to be able to take such a big leap. The first time it happens, your head's spinning. The second time it happens, then you get the reinforcement that, okay, this has happened two times. Now I'm waiting for the third and the fourth and the fifth. And then pretty soon, it's like you could just plan it out. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have, just like your OKRs that you talk about, it's like I'm going to onboard 2 new clients this quarter, or 4 new clients, whatever you're going for in your practice. That you can actually start planning it because the confidence is there, because the experience of having achieved it is there. So the trust that you can have that experience through this program.
I always find it fascinating when people go, "Oh, it's so lucky you picked up a $25,000 a year client, Keith," right? And I go, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And Keith generated an opportunity for himself, and then he prepared for what he needed to be able to do to get that person on board at that level. Because that same exact client, quoted a different way, spoken to a different person, might be worth only $5,000. Might be worth less than that. Might be a $300 tax return. But when we, again, prepare and we meet that opportunity with our preparation, let's just say fundamentally different things happen. And then we get a little addicted to it, right? We're like, wait a minute, this wasn't luck. I can reproduce this again this week, next week, this quarter, and we can accelerate even faster. So absolutely, Keith, fantastic. I think we covered this, but how close are you to winning your first Dream Firm Award? For those who are unfamiliar with what that means, it's $100,000 billed and collected in new revenue in less than a 365-day period. How close are you, Keith?
I'm about halfway there, a little bit more, about 55.
Beautiful. Excellent. Congratulations. And who would you recommend the Create Your Dream Firm program to? We're getting to Q&A next, just so everyone's aware. I see a lot of questions coming in. Who would you recommend the program to, Keith?
Anybody who's seeking to do better in their practice. It's just as simple as that. If you don't have systems, or you're doing everything by paper, then, and you're wanting to get away from that, then this is definitely the program. If you're looking to actually be confident and see a different type of client relationship and leverage the clients you already have in addition to getting more, then this is the program.
Couldn't say it better myself, Keith. If you're looking for something better in your life, give us a shot. Not only do we have a $50,000 annualized billing guarantee, not only do we have all these wonderful things, success stories like Keith, and all the things that you can see on our brand new website, by the way, dreamfirms.com. Check it out. It's pretty wild. Put a lot of time and energy into it. Hope you guys like it. Let's jump into Q&A. We got about 8 minutes here. I've got something from Kathy. Kathy says, that's a cool niche. Thank you for sharing with us how you picked it. It absolutely is a super cool niche. And Kathy, I'm sure you have a super cool one yourself as well. Lynette says, congrats on the growth. Keith, are your clients remote?
Two of them are, one of them are not. And then there are a couple more that they're in the region, but they're just far enough away that maybe I can say that, yeah, they are remote, because, you know, it's not exactly practical to go out there on a regular basis. And for the one that is very close by, I actually enjoy going out there because, well, it's a driving range. What can I say?
I might switch my niche to driving ranges or entertainment myself, Keith, so I can have an excuse to, you know, go out there and hit. It's not as fun to go to an accounting office, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. It's good to get out once in a while.
For sure. No, that's absolutely awesome. And then I've got a question from Jason. What pushed you over the edge to work with dream firms? I've been thinking about it for a few weeks now.
Oh, okay. I'll be honest with you, it was the recommendation that I got from Mr. McNeely, that he was so happy and from what he was accomplishing, and the fact that he had things to share with me that were little tidbits from this program, that it's like there's more to it. And because it resonated with me and I knew there's some value there, that just said, okay, yeah, I'm in. And the first thing I did, I did that little challenge. And the second thing I did was to go into the 2-month program. And I got enough value out of that that I wanted to make a year-long commitment. It's you know, it just, if something keeps reinforcing itself with you that way, that's great. But I would also recommend that if you're going to take the plunge, that you really do take it seriously, put some time into it and protect some time, because otherwise it's, you know, it's not going to work. That first larger client that I had, it was because I actually put in the background work and started putting in systems. And I was able to then have a conversation that generated value with that client, that they saw, oh, wow, you know, and again, the first words out of their mouths, why didn't you offer this before? It's like, because I wasn't there yet. And that's fine. That's a perfectly valid answer. But my mindset wasn't there yet, is really what it comes down to.
I love it, because we can pull from that clients want more. We have to be willing to offer more, and they're willing to pay more when we're willing to make those offers. Absolutely fantastic. And Jason, just very quickly, if you haven't tried Igniter yet, please do so, right? That's a good way to be able to understand just what we have. And what Keith just shared with his experience from a friend and colleague with Tim, that's what these interview series are meant to reflect and represent, is that Keith is here to share with you exactly what his experience was when Tim came to him and said, hey, this is what my experience has been. I think you should check this out. Check it out, right? See what you got. And one thing I'll say about coaching in general is that coaching isn't about making the right decision 100% of the time. Coaching is about being able to make decisions faster. And while I'm going to do my best to make sure we do make the right decisions, that's not always going to be the case. And we should always understand that that's going to be true. But by making a decision a little bit faster, we experience the benefit or drawback, and then we have new informed thoughts from that decision. So my honest advice to you is join. Make that decision. Make a powerful decision today to understand what you can then make another decision for in the not so distant future that you couldn't possibly understand what that is right now, because you got another one sitting in front of you. You got to make it. Hope you join us, Jason. Evan says, I need that type of support and community. Do you need to be a CPA to join? Keith, do you need to be a CPA to join?
I'm an enrolled agent. You could be a CTEC if you know, in California, that's what we have, you know. It doesn't matter. If you own a business and it's in the accounting realm or the finance realm, then it works. Mr. McNeely wasn't even a tax professional. He was a financial advisor.
Precisely. We don't discriminate here. You don't need to be a CPA. Whatever your credentials are, as long as you're willing to help people in the accounting, bookkeeping, tax, financial realm, we'd love an opportunity to serve you here, Evan. Rose, how can I learn more about your program, Tyler? There'll be a link somewhere floating around here to book a call. You'll get to speak with Matt, our Dream Firm's advisor. He'll inform everything that you need to know about the program. Katrina, that growth is amazing, Keith. Bravo. Bravo, Keith. Evan, awesome. Booking my call now. What's up, Evan? Way to be someone who makes a powerful decision. Can't wait for you to learn a little bit more and hopefully join us soon. Gwen, this past tax season was the worst, multiple S's. Showed me I need help with setting client boundaries. Is that something you help with? Gwen, absolutely. I had a hot seat literally right before this interview with Keith, and it was almost exclusively about setting boundaries and learning the importance of the word no. No is one of, if not the single most powerful word entrepreneurs need to use more frequently, because the truth is if you're like me, if you're like Keith, if you're like everybody on this call, you're a giver. You wouldn't be in the service industry if you didn't enjoy giving and supporting other people. But the problem is there's a lot of takers out there that abuse our willingness to want to help. And so we over deliver. We go outside the scope. We don't properly define the scope before we start working with people. And so, Gwen, absolutely, that's one of the major things that we emphasize in this program, because if you give too much, you're giving away your time, your most precious resource. You can't reinvest that to go and get your dream clients. That's a big, big problem and something we definitely help with. Kathy has circled back around. She says, I'm actually struggling with picking my niche. Any advice? Kathy, my advice is we actually have a great YouTube video on it, but it seems like Keith has a bit of advice. What is that?
Well, again, there's the way I want to go, and then there's like what makes sense, what makes the most sense, and where do I have the most connections. If you even look at your own business and what clients make that up, well, what industries are the bulk of your clients coming out of, and where are your best relationships? Sometimes those may be two different things. So in other words, I may have great relationships with attorneys or my real estate people, but I have my best background in entertainment. So that's why I went that way. It doesn't mean that I won't take a client who's an attorney or a real estate broker, but it does mean that if I'm going to invest $1 of marketing, it's not going to be in anything other than my niche. It's actually, it creates a huge efficiency just picking one thing and leveraging that with your marketing dollars rather than putting out a shotgun and draining your coffers and getting a mishmash of things that you really can't focus on. You never know what you're going to get if you do it that way.
Completely agreed. It's about efficiency. Relevancy and efficiency are always tied together. The reason you're all listening to this right now and listening to Keith, I can guarantee every single person on here is in the accounting, bookkeeping, or tax space, because we are relevant to you and your situation. So Keith, you're right. If you're going to take $1 out of your wallet, you got to ensure highest chances that's coming back to you. We are, however, out of time. I got two last quick things. Oliver, I only have 2 members in my firm. Is your course applicable to my situation? Oliver, program. Course is, hey, here's the box, get in the box. Hope you figure it out on your own. Good luck. See ya. No, we are here to make sure that you have the support you need to make the progress that you deserve and see those results. So yes, Oliver, 100% applicable. We work with solopreneurs. We work with teams of 10 or more. It doesn't make much of a difference to us. So we'd love to have the opportunity for you to learn a little more. Patty booked a call for tomorrow. Oliver thanks us, and we thank you. Keith, any closing thoughts here?
Don't be afraid to dive deeper. That's it. If you're looking to improve something, it's worth the investment, even if you move on to something else later.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for your time, Keith. We really appreciate it. And for everyone on the call, if you don't have a call booked yet to learn more about the Create Your Dream Firm program, I highly encourage you to do so. And remember, only you can create your dream firm, but we, including Keith, are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic, fantastic rest of your week, everyone, and hopefully see you inside the program soon.